Cyrus Bettel came around the last bend of the Broken Elm Road at 4 in the afternoon on a Wednesday in October and stopped his buckboard because a plain, honest small road wagon was parked in the middle of the road with one wheel off and a cowwoman kneeling beside it in the dust. He set his brake. He climbed down. He walked forward slowly at a plain, honest walking pace so as not to alarm the woman or the child of maybe 8 who was standing at the far side of the wagon holding the head of a plain, honest mule. He stopped 10 feet away. He took his hat off. He said, "Ma'am, my name is Cyrus Bettel. I run the small Bettel Ranch 6 miles east of Broken Elm. May I offer help with the wheel?" The woman looked up. She was maybe 29. She was in a plain woven cotton dress and a plain wool blanket coat. Her long black hair was braided down her back. She had on her hands the plain, honest smudges of a woman who had already tried to fix the wheel herself. She said, in careful English, "Sir, my name is Willowgrass. My daughter is called Cottontail. We are traveling from our village at Council Grove, north to my sister's household at Manhattan. Our axle key sheared off 2 hours back. I have been trying to peg it back with a plain, honest small piece of oak, and it will not hold. I have been about to walk with my daughter the 6 miles to the Broken Elm blacksmith for a proper replacement." Cyrus Bettel looked at the axle key. It was, plainly, a sheared axle key. It could not be pegged back with oak. He said, "Ma'am, I will drive you the 6 miles to Broken Elm myself and pay the blacksmith bill for a proper axle key and drive you back. That is a 2-hour round trip. The blacksmith closes at 7. If we hurry, we can be back at your wagon by 6:30. Please permit me. In the meanwhile, I would ask that you and your daughter come home with me to my Aunt Ada's plank table for supper and stay the night, because the road is not a safe place to sleep with a wagon on 3 wheels, and the blacksmith cannot install the axle key by lamp. In the morning, I will drive you both back at first light to your wagon and put the wheel back on and see you on to Manhattan." Willowgrass looked at Cyrus Bettel a long moment. She said, "Sir, that is a plain, honest offer." Cyrus said, "It is only sensible, ma'am." She said, "I accept." Aunt Ada, 68, met them at the plank kitchen. She fed Willowgrass and Cottontail a plain, honest bowl of stew and a slice of buttered brown bread and a small cup of milk for the child. She did not ask questions. Cyrus drove into Broken Elm for the axle key at 5 and back at 7:15. He set the axle key on his workbench for the morning. Willowgrass and Cottontail slept in the west room. At breakfast on Thursday morning at the plank table, Aunt Ada said, "Willowgrass." Willowgrass said, "Aunt Ada." Aunt Ada said, "I have a plain, honest proposal for you. I am 68. My eyesight is not what it was. The Bettel Ranch has a plain, honest small ledger and a plain, honest small kitchen. My nephew has been trying since April to hire a plain, honest small housekeeper. Would you consider staying at the Bettel Ranch a fortnight while my nephew and I sort out the possibility? If, at the end of the fortnight, you would rather ride on to Manhattan, my nephew will drive you the whole way at his own expense, with the axle key already installed. If, at the end of the fortnight, we all suit each other, we may discuss a plain, honest, longer arrangement. I am asking plainly." Willowgrass looked at Aunt Ada. She said, "Aunt Ada, may I ask a plain thing back?" But Aunt Ada said, "Please." Willowgrass said, "My sister at Manhattan is not expecting me at a specific date. She has written that I may come at any time in the fall. She is a plain, honest woman and would understand a fortnight." Aunt Ada said, "Then the fortnight is welcome." Willowgrass said, "The fortnight is welcome." Cyrus Bettel, at the plank table, drank his coffee and said nothing, because Aunt Ada had, plainly, thought about the fortnight before breakfast. Willowgrass and Cottontail stayed the fortnight at the Bettel Ranch. Cottontail took to the 2 barn cats, Wit and Woe, inside 3 days. Willowgrass took to Aunt Ada's small ledger inside 6. She corrected, at the plank table on the second Sunday, a small, honest arithmetic error Aunt Ada had been making for 4 months on the crew's coffee and salt pork purchase account, and had, at the end of the correction, been quietly celebrated by Aunt Ada for the correction with a plain, honest slice of Aunt Ada's peach pie. Cyrus Bettel watched this at the plank table. He did not, in the fortnight, press Willowgrass. He was plain honest and courteous. He rode his fence in the morning. He came home for supper. He read the county paper in the parlor to Aunt Ada in the evenings. Willowgrass sat in the parlor with her mending and listened. Cottontail sat on the plank floor with her plain, honest, small carved wooden horse and listened. Aunt Ada mended. On the 12th day of the fortnight, Aunt Ada said, at breakfast, Willowgrass. Willowgrass said, Aunt Ada. Aunt Ada said, may I write to your sister at Manhattan today, at your dictation? A plain, honest letter proposing that you stay at the Bettle Ranch as household bookkeeper and mender at $8 a week, and board for you and Cottontail, and that your sister be welcome to visit at any time, and Cottontail be welcome to ride to Manhattan for the summer months every year to be with your sister's children. Willowgrass said, Aunt Ada. Aunt Ada said, yes. Willowgrass said, please write the letter today. Willowgrass's sister, Blue Wing, in careful English, wrote back with a plain, honest paragraph the second Thursday. Sister, the plain, honest ranch of Aunt Ada Bettle at Broken Elm has a plain, honest reputation in Manhattan. Cyrus Bettle at Broken Elm has a plain, honest reputation also. Stay the winter. I will ride down to Broken Elm for Christmas to see you and Cottontail. Please tell Aunt Ada I accept her Christmas invitation before she has extended it. Blue Wing. Aunt Ada laughed at the plank table. Willowgrass laughed. Aunt Ada wrote the Christmas invitation. Cyrus Bettle did not, in October, November, or the first half of December, press Willowgrass. Aunt Ada, on the second Sunday of December, at supper, said, Nephew, Willowgrass. Cyrus said, Aunt Ada. Willowgrass said, Aunt Ada. Aunt Ada said, the two of you have not raised the plainer conversation. I am 68. I am giving until New Year's Eve. If the plainer conversation is not raised by New Year's Eve, I will raise it for you on New Year's Day. That is my ultimatum. She left the plank table for the porch step. Cyrus Bettle said, Willowgrass. Willowgrass said, Cyrus. He said, I have been in love with you since the axle key on the road on the Wednesday in October. I have not said anything since, because Aunt Ada is very good at arranging plank tables, and I did not want you to feel arranged. I am saying it now. I am not pressing. Please answer at your leisure. Willowgrass said, Cyrus Bettle. He said, yes. She said, I have been in love with you since the axle key on the road also. I have not said anything for the same reason. I would like to marry you. I would ask that my sister Blue Wing bless the marriage from Manhattan, and that Aunt Ada Bettle stand as household elder from Broken Elm. That is the plain, honest arrangement I would like. Cyrus Bettle said, yes. Aunt Ada, from the porch step, said, thank the good Lord. Blue Wing rode down from Manhattan for Christmas. She stayed a fortnight. She blessed the plain, honest marriage at the porch step, in the ceremony of her people on the second Sunday of January. The circuit preacher blessed it a second time in the front room of the Bettle Ranch on the following Sunday. Aunt Ada stood witness for Willowgrass at both ceremonies. Blue Wing stood witness for Cyrus at the second, because Willowgrass asked her to. Cottontail, 8, held the ring at the second ceremony on a folded piece of blue muslin without dropping it. She wore a plain new small green dress Willowgrass had sewn at Aunt Ada's plank table over the previous fortnight. She was, plainly, the most solemnly pleased small woman in Broken Elm that afternoon. 2 years on a warm September evening at the Bettle Ranch, Willowgrass Bettle sat on the porch step with Cyrus beside her, and their small son called Broken Elm, out of plain honest respect to a plain honest road, 10 months old, asleep against her chest. Cottontail, 10 now, was on the porch bench reading a McGuffey third to Wit and Woe, who were being politely patient about it, because Willowgrass had, plainly, told them to be. Aunt Ada, 70, sat in the porch rocker with her mending. Blue Wing had, in June, moved from Manhattan to a small, plain, honest cottage 2 miles east of the Bettle Ranch that Cyrus had, at Willowgrass's private request, arranged for her. Blue Wing kept a plain, honest, small garden, and rode over to the Bettle Ranch for supper on Wednesdays. Cyrus said, Willowgrass. Willowgrass said, Cyrus. He said, Blue Wing's letter from Manhattan arrived today, Your cousin's daughter is to be married at Manhattan in November. Blue Wing has been asked to give her away because her father is at the Osage Agency. She has asked whether we would come." Willowgrass said, "Yes." Cyrus said, "I have not yet answered." Willowgrass said, "Please write her back tonight." "Yes, we will drive up on the 15th. The pasture went to gold. Wit and Woe napped at Cottontail's boots. Aunt Ada mended. Broken Elm the baby dreamed. And Willowgrass Bettle, who had knelt in the plain honest dust of the Broken Elm Road at 4 in the afternoon on a Wednesday in October, beside a plain honest small road wagon with a sheared axle key, put her cheek against her husband's shoulder, and understood that the good slow country had, in its good slow way, arranged a plain honest sheared piece of iron at a plain honest small road on a plain honest Wednesday afternoon, and had, on the strength of one plain honest 6-mile buckboard ride to a Broken Elm blacksmith, and one plain honest 6-mile buckboard ride back, given her back not just her plain honest wagon, but the whole rest of a plain honest household, under the Bettle Ranch roof, no plain honest sister at Manhattan would, or could, or should, have thought to arrange in her sister's absence. And so it had.